and welcome to the Guide to Glam with Alexandra. My name's Alexandra, and I will start off by introducing myself and telling you a little about me. I'm a stay-at-home mom to a 1.5-year-old. I have 3 dogs, a wonderful husband. I live in Louisiana, and I'm Southern born and raised. I love makeup, and I love to do beauty on a budget. Being a stay-at-home mom, I don't really have the funds to go out and buy all of the latest and greatest makeup, so I really like to do drugstore products, dupes, and the occasional high-end eyeshadow palette. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill Vault collection. I will be doing a tutorial using the Bling Boss palette in specific. I just got this in the mail a few days ago. I haven't tried it out yet at all, but I would really love to dig into this one today. It's got some beautiful berry tones, and I would really enjoy using it. Purple's one of my favorite colors, so let's just dive right in. I'm going to take this brush. It's a BoxyCharm P15. It's just a nice fluffy blending brush. I'm going to go in and use the shade Hush Hush as my transition color. I'm going to apply that right into the transition area and just blend it out. That actually has more of a pinkish tone than the palette would have suggested. I was actually expecting more of a taupe color, but it is coming out pretty pink. It's not bad, especially as a transition color, using all of these purples and dark berry shades and the red burgundy colors. I think it'll work beautifully as their transition shade. It's just not what I was expecting. I think today I'm going to go for a half cut crease. Just dab that out and continue to blend my transition color Hush Hush onto this lid. The product is actually very pigmented so far. I haven't seen any fallout yet. This is the relaunched collection, and I know that there was a lot of hype behind the inconsistencies with the first collection, and that actually has been taken care of from what I could tell. I actually started out my video journey on Facebook Live tutorials. I have done many tutorials on Facebook Live, and through the prompting of my viewers, I decided to move on to YouTube. But on Facebook Live, a few days ago, I reviewed the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe Dark Magic palette. It's from the Vault collection as well, and it performed magnificently. If you'd like to see a tutorial of that, leave a comment down below, and I'll be sure to do that for my YouTube channel. So I'm going to go in with this shade right here, Rockstar, and I'm going to use it on my crease. I'm going in with the Vintage Cosmetics Company Step 2 for the shadow. It's a nice angled blending brush. This is very pigmented. I don't really see any fallout on the palette, so that's surprising for such pigmented products. You usually get more fallout with that. I'm just adding it right below the transition area, being sure not to blend it up too high, but I mainly want to focus it on the outer corner. I'm going to do the same to the other eye. Focusing mainly on the outer corner and using windshield wiper sweeping motions to blend it about midway through the crease. That shade's a little patchy, but it may be this brush. So I'm going to go in with a different brush. I'm going to try the Vintage Cosmetics Company Step 1 for the Money. And it's just a fluffy blending brush. It's a bit more dense than the previous brush I was using, and I'm going to just go back over it and make sure that that color's packed on really well. I'm using patting motions, and then I'm kind of blending it out using the windshield wiper motions. We don't want to take this color too far up into that transition area. This shade is really kind of patchy. It's Rockstar. I'm not sure that I'm rocking this. We're going to continue to work with it and see if it comes together though. I actually experienced a little bit of patchiness in the color Potion from the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette Dark Magic. This shade right here, Potion, it was extremely patchy. At the time, I assumed it may have been a primer that I was using, but I am using a Cover FX blurring primer, and it's tried and true, and it's worked like a charm for me previously, using all sorts of palettes, ranging from Jeffree Star to Morphe to Laura Lee Los Angeles, and that's the only time that I've ever experienced any patchiness in the shadows is using these shades, Potion and Rockstar. If you have this palette, leave a comment down below and let me know if you experienced this with your palette. This one looks so unbelievably patchy. It's like I can't make it match up with the other eye. So I'm gonna just kind of dab it to fill it in some. Now I'm going to go back in with the first brush I started with in our transition shade, Hush Hush. And I'm gonna just blend out the edges. You know, honestly, this kind of reminds me of the purple shades in the Jeffree Star Blood Sugar palette. I had some issues with patchiness in those as well, and I had to use patting motions to build them up and use minimal blending because they were so pigmented, but as soon as you started to blend them, they became extremely patchy. I think that's an issue that a lot of palettes have whenever you get extremely pigmented palettes. Next, I'm going to go in with the Vintage Cosmetics Company Step 3, Go Girl Go. It's just a small packer brush. And I'm going to use this shade right here. It's called Berry Treasure. I think it's really pretty. It's kind of a bluish, brownish shade. I'm going to spritz my brush with some of the Tarte Ready Set Radiant. It's a luminizing setting spray. It'll give these shimmer shades the best chance they have. Wow, that blends in beautifully with Rockstar. And we're just going to focus that right at the outer area, and we're not going to go into the crease at all. I'm going to do the same to the other eye. Just lightly blending it into the outer corner into the shade Rockstar, but avoiding going too far up and affecting our crease. Just to make sure our crease gets the best chance, I'm going to go back into the shade Rockstar, and I'm going to darken it up a little, and the outer corner as well. I'm using a Wet n Wild. It's just a little crease brush. It's great for doing defined lines or using it to cut the crease with concealer. I'm actually going to dust some of Rockstar down onto the lower lash line. Since I'm already working with the defined brush and the shade, may as well. I'm going to do the same to the other eye. I'm trying to avoid mixing the crease with the shade Berry Treasure. There's some fallout from Berry Treasure right here, so using these shades, you may want to put some translucent powder on the under eye to prevent fallout. Now I'm going to go back in again with the shade Hush Hush and just dusting around the edges. And I'm going back in with the brush that I was using Rockstar on initially. And I'm going to try to blend it some. And as soon as you begin to blend it, I don't know if you could see, but right here, it's having patchiness. Oh, I hope this doesn't ruin the whole look. I'm just going to blend the color Rockstar up into the transition area just a little so we don't look too rough around the edges. Maybe I shouldn't have gone in for such a vibrant look on my test run of this palette. I did the exact thing last time using the Dark Magic palette, and it actually turned out beautifully in the end, but it was kind of hard to work with the shade Potion because of the patchiness issue. And it's just patching up. So I'm going to put some on the brush and pat it in there and try to leave it alone. And do the same to the patchiness on this eye. I'm really wondering if I just got an iffy batch, if I'm using it wrong. I've never experienced this except with this palette or really cheap drugstore palettes, which this palette, I only paid $15 for it on the Morphe website, but still I was expecting a little more of it since it does have Jaclyn Hill's name on it and she is like a goddess. But I guess it is kind of a get what you pay for sort of thing. It was very cheap, so I can't complain too much. The shades are gorgeous. I just wish they performed a little better. I'm going to go in with my Hard Candy Glamoflauge. I really love this concealer. It's kind of a thick product, hard to work with at first, but it covers amazing. I'm going to do my half-cut crease, and I just like to dab it out a little to blend it with my other shades. Sorry if it seems like I'm like looking off behind you. It's because my mirror's right behind the camera. I just got this new setup going and I kind of think I might need to rework it a little more. Okay, now that we've got the crease cut, I'm going to go in. I'm not going to set it because I really want to make these pigments as vibrant as possible because they are really beautiful shades. I think next I'm going to try the shade Pizzazz. I'm going to take this flat top rounded brush. This is just a cheap brush that I picked up off of Amazon. I got a set of them. I don't recall the name. They were just very cheap and I like cheap, so I got them, and they actually work pretty well, especially just the little flat ones. I don't think you could really go wrong with those. I'm just dabbing this pigment on. I wish they had a shade that was between Pizzazz and Berry Treasure, but not as bright as Gem. I love the color Gem, but I just don't think that I want to use that in today's look. I don't want to take the color Pizzazz all the way. I'm just going to dab and blend it a little more into Berry Treasure. And I'm going to do the same to the other eye. And just continue to build up the pigment. I'm going to give it another spritz with my Tarte Ready Set Radiant and continue to pack the pigment on. These shimmers are actually performing flawlessly. I really love shimmers, especially whenever it's a good formula, and this formula seems great. I had no complaints about the shimmer shades from the Dark Magic palette either. I think they performed great as well. I really like how it turned out. As the overall look came together, I did just have the complaint of the patchiness, but as I said before, that's something that I could work around, I can work through. as long as the other shades perform and work with me. Now I think I'm going to go into the shade Ballsy. They've really come up with some unique and out there names for makeup lately. Jeffree Star has been throwing out some really unique names. I'm just going in with another flat rounded brush. This is from Amazon as well. It came in the same pack as the previous one I used. And I'm dipping into the shade Ballsy. It's a nice light, almost lavender shade, but a bit more on the mauve-y pink side. But it does have some purplish hues. And I'm just dabbing that and trying to blend it a little with the shade Pizzazz. This is not my favorite color. I don't think that it's coming together cohesively just yet, but maybe with some more blending it will. I'm going to go back in with the brush that I was using for the shade Rockstar, and I'm just going to blend around those edges again, not going too far up into our transition area, and I'm also going to sweep it over the outer corner just a bit. I feel like this eye is a bit more dark and vivid than this eye, so I'm also going to go in again with the shade Rockstar on my defining brush, and I'm just going to darken up that outer corner a little and the crease. And I'm going back in with the same brush I was using to blend before, and I'm going to blend that shade some. That's really not bad. It actually turned out pretty well so far. I'm not quite done yet. I'm going to take this fluffy blending brush. I'm going to wet it some. This is just an e.l.f. eye crease brush. I'm going to take the shade Pizzazz again, and I'm going to use that to kind of try and blend these together a little more. On the same brush, I think I'm actually going to take a touch of Gem. It's a beautiful purple shade, and I think I'm going to pat that between Berry Treasure and Pizzazz, hoping it might add a bit better of a transition between the two. Okay, now I'm going to go back in one more time with Berry Treasure, and this shade is kind of getting everywhere. It's here and here, so that shade does have a bit more fallout than I initially thought. I'm just using Berry Treasure to darken the outer corner some and also blend into where I place Gem and Pizzazz. What I've realized with makeup is it's a bunch of back and forth, finding out what works for you, what shades look best together, how they build and blend together, and just making it work. So what I have to do to make something work, you may not have to do, because, you know, your skin type and your brushes and your techniques may be different than mine. This is just to give you a general idea of looks that you can make with this palette, which I think it's a beautiful palette. It has a lot of potential to do tons of different looks, and I really like versatile palettes like that. This is a Bugatti Paris brush. It's just an angled brush. I'm going to moisten it with the Tarte Ready Set Radiant, and I'm going to go in with the shade Bling Bling. And I'm going to use that to highlight my inner corner. And blend it just a little into the shade Ballsy. Looks a little patchy right here. I think I might go back in with my transition shade one last time just to make sure that everything's blended together. I really don't like how Bling Bling is performing on that brush. I'm kind of running out of brushes. I really need to wash my brushes. I have way more than I showed, but I'm getting down and I need to wash them, so I'm just taking Bling Bling on my finger to highlight the inner corner. And I'm going to go back in with our transition shade, which I feel like has darkened so much. It just seems as though it's darkened a lot because I've used the brush to blend over the edges of these dark corners. So that's just how it made it seem, but the pigment really isn't as dark as the brush would make you think. So I'm just going to go around my edges again and make sure everything's blended together well. We want it to be a smooth transition from the really dark purples up to the mauves. I really wish Rockstar would perform a bit better, but I'm going to go in and try this shade Mystic right here. And I'm just going to use it to define the crease some. And I'm going to go back again and blend around those edges. Okay, now if you'll just give me 1 second, I'm going to pop on some lashes and some eyeliner, and I'll be right back with you with the finished look. Okay guys, I'm back. I just applied the Revlon Beyond Natural Lashes and some pretty Vulgar Ink Pot eyeliner. Now I'm going to add a little more color to the lower lash line, and then you'll have the finished look. I'm going to use this defined brush, and I'm going in with the shade Mystic. I'm just going to define the outer part of my lash line on the bottom, right near the waterline. I'm going to do the same to the other eye as well, just to deepen the shade Rockstar that we placed there earlier. I just smudged the brush off a little, and now I'm going to go in with this shade right here. It's called Sparks. I'm going to blend those two together and bring that almost to my inner corner. Now on this large angle brush, I'm just going to take the shade Hush Hush, and I'm going to blend that onto the inner corner of my lower lash line. And blend it in with the shade Sparks, of course, so that they blend together well and it all looks like one cohesive look. Alright guys, I'm going to put a little Hard Candy translucent setting powder right under my eye to try and buff away the fallout staining that we got from our dark shades. Okay, I think that's about as good as it could get. I know for next time to use the translucent powder in advance, so I don't have to deal with this issue. I could just dust it away. And yeah, this is the final look. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Please subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications so that you can be notified of my future videos. I plan to do 1 to 3 a week. It just depends on my schedule and what sort of content I have to show you guys. I have many other palettes, the Jeffree Star Thirsty palette, the Blood Sugar palette, I have Morphe palettes, I have 2/4 of the Vault collection between Morphe and Jaclyn Hill. I plan to get the other 2 as well. Currently I have Bling Boss and Dark Magic. If you would like to see a tutorial using Dark Magic, please leave a comment down below. I will also link all of the products that I used in today's tutorial. And just come back and watch again. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed day.